Should pop up with the notice any minute.
There it is. Fantastic. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to this evening's meeting. I would like to officially call this meeting to order. If you all would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. Okay, let's get started with the first item on our agenda, and that would be the approval of the minutes. If council has had the opportunity to look at the minutes and approve them, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the Town Council work session minutes of February 8th, 2021, the Town Council work session minutes of February 16th, 2021, and the Town Council business meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2021, as presented.
Thank you, Councilman Simpson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Any additions, deletions, corrections? Okay, great. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Oh, thank you, Patty. And I am an aye as well. Motion carries. And we're going on to 2.2 with a review and approval of March minutes of 2021. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Mayor, I motion that we accept the Town Council work session and special meeting minutes of March 8th, 2021, the Town Council work session of March 16th, 2021, and the Town Council meeting of March 22nd, 2021, as presented.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion, corrections, deletions, questions?
Can I just point out that the dates are the same as the month before? It's funny to me.
Duly noted. All right, so I have a motion and it has been properly seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. If you're opposed to accepting the minutes, please let me know. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I think I heard Matt too. And I am an aye as well. Motion carries. Brings us down to legislation. 3.1, Resolution 21-09 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, it's Brent Manuel, Town Manager. It's a resolution concerning trash and recycling container purchase for the purpose of authorizing the Town Manager to enter into a contract purchase agreement for the purchase of 440 trash and recycling carts of varying sizes.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept Resolution 21-09?
I make a motion that we accept Resolution 21-09 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Brent, I do have a question for you, and maybe this is a Bobby question. Will that include our new logo on the side of this?
It will, Mayor. Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And I am an aye as well. Motion carries. That brings us to Resolution 21-10 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Town Council, a resolution concerning transportation improvements assigned fund balance for the purpose of authorizing the use of the town's transportation improvement assigned fund balance for certain purposes.
Fantastic. Do I have a motion to accept Resolution 21, to adopt Resolution 21-10?
I move that we accept resolution 21 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor of adopting resolution 21-10, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I am an aye as well. Motion carries. All right, it brings us down to emergency ordinance 21-06 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Town Council, an emergency ordinance concerning compensation for the mayor and council for the purpose of specifying the compensation to be paid to the mayor and council, the town of La Plata, for the term of office commencing on May 10th, 2021, and all matters relating to said compensation.
Thank you for that. I am going to recuse myself from this vote since it directly impacts me.
I will abstain as well.
All right, and so do I have a motion to accept emergency ordinance 21-06?
I make a motion to adopt resolution 2106.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, and two abstain, motion carries. Brings us down to ordinance 21-08 for consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Town Council, excuse me. An ordinance concerning 2021 comprehensive rezoning map for the purpose of adopting a new comprehensive rezoning map for the town of La Plata in accordance with the land use map as adopted by ordinance 20-10-2020 comprehensive plan and all matters relating to said plan.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-08?
I make a motion that we accept 21-08 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I'm an aye. Any opposed? Brent, I didn't hear whether you were in favor or opposed.
I voted in favor.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. All right, that brings us down to the ordinance 21-09 FY22 tax rate for introduction and public hearing.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Town Council, an ordinance concerning Town of La Plata FY22 tax rate for the purpose of adopting the Town of La Plata's FY22 tax rate, all matters generally relating thereto.
All right, so we have that for introduction, and that is coming up for a public hearing. So do we need? We don't need to make a motion for anything since it is coming up for public hearing. Is that correct, Danielle?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, good. All right, so any questions on this, Council, before we move on to our next? All right, moving on to emergency ordinance 2110 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Town Council, an emergency ordinance concerning amendment to Town of La Plata FY21 financial plan budget for the purpose of amending the Town of La Plata's FY21 financial plan budget and all matters generally relating thereto.
All right, thank you for that. Do I have a motion to accept this?
Can you hear me, Mayor?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept ordinance 21-10.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor of passing this ordinance, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Patty, was that an aye?
Yeah.
Okay, and I am an aye as well. Motion carries 5-0. That brings us to the public hearing, which is of the FY22 tax rate. I am going to have our illustrious town clerk go over the procedures. I know I will call this to order as soon as the procedures have been, this public hearing will be called to order as soon as the procedures have been gone over, and we will start from there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To review the public hearing procedures, we ask that all attendees keep their audio muted during the meeting and during the hearing. When it is your time to speak, you may turn on your microphone and announce your intent to speak. You will be required to give your name and address for the record. And please keep topics limited to the FY22 tax rate. The procedures consist of call to order by Mayor James, a review of procedures, which we are doing now, a review of public notices, in this case, the affidavit from the town treasurer, Kevin Greenville, that the April 26, 2021 hearing was advertised in the April 9th, 2021 edition of the Maryland Independent newspaper. There will be the opportunity for recommendations. In this instance, there will be information provided by Kevin Greenville, town treasurer, regarding the constant yield tax rate. There will be questions by the town council, written documents for the record. No written documents have been received to date. Speakers will be called upon and will be limited to 3 minutes. There will be additional questions by the town council, and the public hearing will be concluded. There is the opportunity to keep the record open. It would be preferred if it was kept open no longer than May 5th, just to allow for the next work session and have those comments assembled for the town council. And that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So I would like to officially call this virtual public hearing to order. You have reviewed the procedures, and since now we are official and has been called to order, would you please state for the record the review of the public notices that have been entered into record?
Yes, thank you. In this case, we do require an affidavit from the town treasurer. The notice is in the paper as a page in the paper, which is a little difficult to scan. So our treasurer has submitted an affidavit that the hearing was properly advertised in the April 9th, 2021 edition of the Maryland Independent newspaper, and that is also attached to your agenda.
Great, thank you. Next is a recommendation or staff recommendation from our treasurer, Kevin Greenville.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the tax year beginning July 1, 2021, the estimated real property assessable base will increase by 1.1%. If the town of La Plata maintains the current tax rate of 32 cents per $100 of assessment, real property tax revenues will increase by 1.1%, or $46,445 of new real property tax revenues. In order to fully offset the effect of increasing assessments, the real property tax rate should be reduced to 31.65 cents, which is the constant yield tax rate. The town of La Plata is considering and recommends not reducing its real property tax rate enough to fully offset increasing assessments. The town of La Plata proposes to adopt the real property tax rate of 32 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. This tax rate is 1.1% higher than the constant yield tax rate and will generate, as mentioned before, $46,445 in additional property tax revenues.
Thank you for that. Do I have any questions from the council? All right, hearing none. Kevin, I will ask a question on that. So it is your recommendation, instead of fluctuating it and going down and making it even, by keeping it at where we have been for the past 20 years at 32 for 100, that is consistent, and as you said, it will generate a little over $46,000. So it's not that we are increasing anything, it's that we are remaining the same. Is that correct?
Yeah, the tax rate will remain the same. It's the assessable base that is increasing, which is resulting in our tax revenue going up by that amount.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, since there have been no, to date, there have been no written documents entered into record, do I have anybody who would like to speak on the FY22 tax yield? If you do, a tax rate, if you do, please indicate by stating your name, your address, whether you're in the incorporated town limits, and please limit your statements to 3 minutes. Do I have anybody that is interested?
Mayor James, we do have a hand up from David Jenkins.
Okay, David, do you have the floor?
Good evening again, Dave. For the record, David Jenkins, 513 Clarks Run Road in the corporate limits of La Plata. I just have a couple of questions that I guess are just for my own education and the sequencing of the budget adoption. Why is the tax rate adopted now prior to the adoption of the formal fiscal year 22 budget? What would happen if, for instance, there was a need for additional revenue and then therefore the proposed tax rate changes? Do you then have to go back and amend this? And then I'm sure the treasurer, knowing his expertise, already knows if there was, for instance, a 1 cent increase or whatever increase in the tax rate, that would generate X amount of dollars. And again, I was just asking these questions from a sequence or in my own education benefit. Thank you.
Kevin, would you like to address those?
Yes, I would.
Thank you.
The tax rate is adopted before the budget. This is due to the county needing our tax rate to get out the tax bills to our residents.
Okay, right. I forgot that. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, and if we were to increase the tax rate, you know, I don't exactly know how that would be handled after adoption of the ordinance tonight. You know, I wouldn't recommend it because once again, we're adopting it early to get out those tax bills to our residents. We also need to notify SSTAT of our tax rate as well, as early as possible. So that is why we are trying to pass it at the next council meeting and introducing it tonight. A 1 cent increase in our tax rate would generate approximately $135,000 in additional revenue. And that number is based off the real property tax assessment we were given by SSTAT in February.
I knew you knew that. Thank you. Thank you for that. That was very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question. Do I have any other anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Okay, any additional questions from the council or statements? All right, hearing none, I will ask that we keep this open, the record open, for at least another week, so that we could have anybody else that has any comments that didn't have it tonight. Does anybody else have any objections to that, or would you recommend something else? Council?
No objection.
All right. So let's keep the record open until, as recommended, we'll do Wednesday, May 5th by 4 o'clock for written comments. And I would like to officially adjourn our virtual public hearing on the FY22 tax rate. All right, moving on. We will go into petitions, communications, appearances in public forum. This takes us to our public forum part of the meeting. If I have anyone who would like to speak this evening, please indicate by raising your hand if you can. If you're on the phone, just let us know. Please state your name, your address, whether you're in the incorporated town limits, and please limit your statements to 3 minutes. Do I have anyone who would like to speak this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, and who do I have? Danielle, I can't see these.
Is that okay, Danielle?
Yes, I was just getting ready to say that you wish to speak.
Okay.
So it's Chris Becker, Captain Becker.
Okay.
In this case, it is Chris Becker. Good evening. My name is Chris Becker, and I own property in the Max Welton subdivision within the incorporated limits of La Plata. I'd like to start by thanking Mayor James, Councilman Finnegan and Simpson, and Councilwoman Mudd and Mudd Hendricks for their time on the La Plata Town Council the last 4 years. You have worked to move the town forward with existing businesses and communities while bringing new projects to life. It is obvious the future of La Plata is strong. In recent public meetings, discussions from the Chief of Police and the Director of Public Works have demonstrated the struggles in hiring and retaining employees based on the lack of competitive salaries and/or benefits compared to other nearby jurisdictions. We cannot maintain our strong La Plata community without first prioritizing our employees, ensuring the best qualified candidates are hired, and by ensuring existing employees receive the training, salary, and benefits they deserve. The proposed 2022 budget has $25,000 allocated for an employee benefits and salary study. This same study has been previously proposed and funds budgeted without coming to fruition, despite the multiple requests of town employees. Last week, this council voted to approve an emergency ordinance, as so they did this evening, to provide the next mayor and council an 11% and 25% salary increase, respectively, in addition to up to $15,000 for healthcare premiums. The council discussed how this was to get more qualified residents interested in running for office. During the April 13th budget meeting, it was proposed all town of La Plata employees would be receiving a 3% raise. Though a raise is surely appreciated, I question why employee performance evaluations aren't being considered as in the past. For many employees, working from home is not an option. Some jobs require 24/7 coverage in the thick of things and exposed. Town leaders should take that fact into consideration when determining raises and benefits. During a recent council meeting, an officer and a local business owner expressed their desire to have this mayor and council move forward with the request of the La Plata Police Department to fund the transition from the current pension system to the state law enforcement officer pension system known as LEOPS. For those unfamiliar with these two plans, under the current system, the retirement formula must equal 90. Your age and years of service must equal 90 if you plan to retire before the age of 65. Under this formula, a new law enforcement officer hired at La Plata at the age of 22 must work at least 34 years to be eligible for retirement. The benefit this employee will get after these 34 years of dedicated service is roughly 42% of his average final 5-year base salary. Under LEOPS, the same employee hired at age 22 would be eligible to retire after 25 years of work. The benefit after 25 years of work would be 50% of his final 5-year salary average. The amount the employee contributes to these pension systems is 7%, though your La Plata officers are willing to contribute a higher amount to show the importance of this enhancement. During the April 12th council meeting, Mayor James commended the hard work of the members of the La Plata Police Department, as she so often does. During the April 13th budget session, Mayor James indicated Chief Schinner has been stressing this much needed change to the pension system for 4 years, and has expressed empathy for what officers go through because she has family in law enforcement and a son is now a military law enforcement officer. And I would note that military law enforcement receive full benefits after 20 years. Mayor, you have stressed how all members of the council and yourself are in support of the La Plata Police Department change to LEOPS, and it is just a matter of determining the best way to fund this change. In reviewing agendas from last year to current for council work sessions or special meetings, I don't see a single meeting or enhancements to police officer benefits or any employee benefits are discussed. For over 20 years, the town has been able to to avoid a property tax increase where it created millions of dollars of reserve funds. Some might say this money was earned through the hard work of town employees. I would suggest it is time to spend some of the surplus for not only getting the police officers what they have been asking for, but to develop other enhancements for all town employees. Officers would like to see improved benefits for all town staff. If LEOPS was open to all, they would support all receiving the benefit. There is a cost to improving employee benefits, but the potential returns far exceed those costs. When employees are cared for and prioritized, they work harder, show their devotion to their work, stay longer, and encourage others to join the organization. This strengthens the workplace and strengthens our community. Take care of your employees so that they can take care of the community and keep it the town we love. In closing, I would ask to hear from each council member on the record whether they endorse the change to LEOPS for members of the La Plata Police Department. And if in favor, would you be willing to set $1 million aside from reserves to go to LEOPS and other enhancements for all town staff? I thank you for your time, and I will deliver a copy of this letter to Town Hall tomorrow for inclusion in the record. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I am not sure if at this time, if council wants to address that. Normally we don't engage in the back and forth with that, but I did allow Mr. Jenkins to ask a question. We have not had this come before us, so we know numbers, and we are all, I will speak for myself, I am in favor, as I have said on multiple times, of looking at LEOPS, but something's got to give. We've got a balanced budget right now, and nothing has been proposed to us to cut services or to cut funding in order to pay for that. And what the public may not know is to buy in is the 1 million wouldn't cover it. It's 1.4 million to go in, and then an average of $400,000 a year just for the pension. So I totally support the military. As Chris, you have said, you have indicated, I do come from a family of law enforcement officers, but we have to be fair and equitable across the board. It needs to come to us with suggestions. It has not come to us in this budget, so that is not something that we can vote on right in front of there. So
well, I would suggest that it was presented in budget form and it was removed from the budget before it ever became a talking point, ma'am.
Well, it didn't come to us. So that's all I can say is it did not come up to us in a budget form. We didn't see that, so we could not say yay or nay on it. I was asked about it and I said, show me how we can fund this. So I don't know if any of the other council would like to speak onto this topic. If not, I respect that as well.
I think that we should have seriously considered raising the tax rate for the first time in over 2 decades. We've been running structural deficits for the last decade. It's something that we have to live with, the fact that things are getting more expensive, but we've only got so many rooftops. LEOPS is what's important to the police. It does present us with some unique challenges, but they're not the only ones that we suffer from. We probably should have considered seriously raising the tax rate, as I suggested once before, because if not now, then when? someone has to be the bad guy. And unfortunately, this town is going to get more expensive before we start to see results from Heritage Green and other developments. And we can't wait that long to hire the people we need or retain the people we have.
Thank you. Any other council?
This is Councilman Finnegan. I would second what Councilman Simpson just stated. I remember very early on in the budget discussions among the council, I suggested a tax increase that was to permit us the ability to do things such as LEOPs and fund other opportunities that we don't currently have in the budget. I said it once before and I'll say it again. The cost of doing business for the town's going to go up year after year. And since the discussions that we had as a council took place, and since the decision was made whether or not to include LEOPs in the budget, several factors have played into what our challenges are going to be with law enforcement in particular in the coming years. The rescission of the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights by the state legislature earlier this month is going to hamper recruitment and retention efforts by not only the La Plata Police Department, but all law enforcement agencies across the state of Maryland. And the addition of a 3,000 plus home development significantly increase the size of the town. It's unfortunate that we're having this conversation in this coming to Jesus moment 2 weeks before this council adjourns and a new council comes to fruition. But I implore the next council to seriously consider adopting this pension system for law enforcement. We did have several discussions where we asked staff to come back to us with a system-wide enhancement to benefit for staff, for town employees. We did not take that up. That's on the shoulders of the current council. But unfortunately, I think with everything that's taken place recently and the opinions that have come from the police department with regards to what they need in order to continue to operate in an efficient and effective manner, LEOPs needs to be looked at and seriously considered as an option. It looks to me like we may have to consider LEOPs for the police department and then find ways to provide comparable benefits to the other staff that aren't law enforcement. But something's going to have to be done. Our job of recruiting and retaining law enforcement officers got significantly harder within the past month, and it wasn't that easy to begin with. So we've got tons of projects in the pipeline. The town is growing. The tax rate's going to have to go up to pay for these services. The one cost that the town cannot afford is the cost of doing nothing. And I just, that's my position on it. I know that we have had these discussions before, and I appreciate and respect the work that we've done and, the efforts to try and equalize everything and provide enhancements for everybody across the board, but it didn't get done. And I'm regretful of that, but we may have to, the next council is going to have to seriously consider doing this. So that's all I have.
All right. Any other comments from council? All right, thank you very much.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
minute. I
Good.
agree with what everyone has said, even to raising the tax rate, but I do think that it needs to be equal across the board. We cannot just do LEOPs and not do our other employees. So I would charge the next council to look at this as well. If it can be incorporated in, the 22 budget, that would be fantastic. But I do agree with this whole thing. But it has to be across the board. We have to do something for our other employees also. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mudd. All right. Bob.
Yes, ma'am. I am Bob Kiesel. I live at 506 Quince Court in Hickory Ridge within the town limits. And I'd like to address you briefly this evening in reference to supporting the staff of the La Plata Police Department getting onto the LEOPS plan. I am the trustee chairman for the Maryland State Fraternal Order of Police on the executive board. I am the state trustee for Charles County Lodge 24, and I am also the employee representative to the Sheriff's Office Retirement Plan that is the fiduciary for the retirement benefits for sworn corrections and communications officers with the Charles County Sheriff's Office. I can tell you, echoing one of the council members with the recruitment and retention of police officers, I just came from the Maryland State Police Fraternal Order of, the Maryland Fraternal Order of Police meeting this past weekend. And one of the discussions was the terrible police reform bills that just came out of Annapolis that were not very well thought out and will do nothing but damage recruitment and retention of police officers. The Baltimore Police Department right now is down 500 from their staffing numbers. Agencies all across the state are not fully staffed. And so what it's now becoming is a much smaller pool of individuals who wish to be police officers or currently are police officers. So you have agencies that are in competition for those that have the ability and the will to be police officers. There was a day and an age where young police officers wanted to go do the job, and they really didn't think much about their retirement benefits until later in their career. I can tell you now that those individuals are looking at agencies that have benefits that will support them and their family as they go through their career as police officers. The LEOPS program is a state program. There are numerous agencies in the state of Maryland that participate in LEOPS. A majority of the University of Maryland system police officers, municipalities all across the state, and some counties participate in LEOPS. The LEOPS program is within the state retirement system, which is also where your ECS system also resides. So funds that are currently in the ECS system for La Plata Town police officers would be able to be transferred over to LEOPS. The unfunded actuarial liability for those benefits for those officers could and more than likely would be amortized over 25 years. So the buy-in, Mayor James, I heard you say 1.4 million. Now I don't have any of the figures in front of me, but quite often that unfunded liability can be amortized, so the payments would not nearly be that much to start. And I understand there's some discussion on the other employees of the town, and as a longtime town resident, I will tell you that I enjoy the professional service that I see in the town. I enjoy the professional service in the working relationship with the staff of the La Plata Police Department, and knowing the growth that is coming to this town in the next decade with the large developments that have already been approved, we need to start thinking about recruiting and retaining our police officers so that they have buy-in to our community and they're here for long term, instead of getting training and certification through the state of Maryland, and then going to other agencies that offer better benefits and pay. We have to start thinking that way if we want to maintain a professional and dedicated law enforcement agency here in the town.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Dave Jenkins.
Actually, I was had a question, but I'm going to hold off and withdraw that. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Norris.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have my computer. It doesn't have a mic on it, so I'll be doing this from my phone while watching on the computer. Anyways, I am Sergeant Matt Norris. I'm with the La Plata Police Department. I've been employed with La Plata for 2009, or since 2009. Also, I do not live in the town. I just work for the town. In my 12 years with La Plata Police Department, the PD has grown in both size and professionalism. We bring a positive culture within the police department as well as within the community. It's been a great place to work. Command staff operates with the PD staff as well as the town citizens with the utmost importance. We put everybody else first. Everyone knows the culture of the police and the citizens right now is, it's very strained. And with the enactment of the Maryland, or repeal of the Maryland law enforcement officers bills, there's going to be some problems, especially recruiting new officers as well as retaining current officers. It's already a show. And this is just going to make it 100 times worse. When you're looking for talent to build it into our community policing structure that our police department operates under. Just mirror what Captain Keel said. The expected growth of the town is, everybody address it as far as staffing. I know I've been on a couple of these meetings where we talk about the roads, other services, but the police department needs to grow with this as well. I was lucky enough to attend the Northwestern Police and Command School along with Sergeant Bagley, and I made it a point to do all my research for our big project on the staffing of our police department, and we're well understaffed where we should be and under-specialized in areas that we should be for the type of policing that the public is.
Matt, you're breaking up.
How bad?
Pretty bad. We're hearing every other word.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm mirroring what you've heard already. I don't want to be a dead horse, but LEOP's retirement for the police is important to the town employees, and I know that the other town employees need incentives as well. And we'll fight the battle to our own. I just think it adds incentive so we can get the quality employees that we need and not lose the quality employees that we already have. Aside from that, I don't have any more questions.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. Brendan Smith.
Yes, ma'am. How am I coming through?
You are much more clear.
Very good, very good. Well, good afternoon, council and ladies and gentlemen listening in. Much of what I have to say, sorry, my apologies. I actually do not live in the town. I live in Calvert County. I am an officer for the town as well. Much of what I'm going to say is riding on the backs of the gentleman that spoke before me, or the individuals that spoke before me. For everyone who does not know, I am a sworn officer with the La Plata Police Department. I'm here to speak to you tonight to give you a perspective from a newer officer. This department put me through the academy. This department is my first department. I consider this to be my home, my hometown. I consider everybody within this department and representative of the council to be my family and extended family. I have noticed, being a newer officer, the issue with the retirement system. The retirement system as it is, for me, I did the math a little bit ago before I came into work. I'm going to have to work for 30 years from now, and I already have 2 years on this department. That for me is a very, very long time. I already have an existing injury from this police department that's only going to get worse and require surgery at a certain point when my knee actually cannot heal itself anymore. With the retirement system as it is, doing the 30 years will only get me about 30, maybe 35% of an average of my last 5 years of retirement. I can't afford to be employed here for 30 years for that money. Now, I understand, and all these things being stated, that we need to bring all the other departments and factors of the town and get the local government along with us. If we had retirements or propositions or anything for them, I would almost guarantee 100% this department would support that as well. This department as a whole. We want to see everybody come along, not just us. But with the proposed development and the constant annexing of lands and businesses and property into the town, we're only going to increase 10-fold, 20-fold, 30-fold over the next years. Even if we keep all the officers we have now, we can't afford that amount of work on us. We're gonna have to bring people in at that point. the retirement would be a decent way to do that. That'd be a huge step in the right direction, at least in my opinion. I know that's a big thing for a lot of us new officers. We're kind of worried about how police are, and I'm sure we all can see how police are viewed in today's society. I don't know many people who want to be police officers anymore. It was a respected job. We did have the public who, for the most part, believed in us and wanted us to have our back, or who would have our back when the situation came to it. Now that they've taken our Bill of Rights away, I can't honestly, even myself, recommend anybody become an officer, any prospective individual to become an officer. I know without any form of retirement change or any form of a better retirement, I can't afford to stay here. I believe I stated that before. I'm sure if nothing changes that I'm not going to be the only one actively looking, willing to leave, or willing to look if a better job opportunity becomes available. And that's kind of the town shooting itself in the foot, for lack of a better term. Just to reiterate, I'm at this point, without anything, I can't even recommend anybody become an officer, much less join here for the retirement system that we have. They get locked into nothing and you can't even start a new career when you're finished. So I appreciate the time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Norris?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Jonathan Norris. I live at 1102 Cornwall Drive within the incorporated town limits. I first want to say thank you to the current council. This is their last meeting. Thank you for the time and service they've dedicated to the town over the past 4 years. And next, I want to say that it is time for LEOPS. Cheverly, Mount Rainier, Morgan State University Police Department, and the Baltimore City Community College Police Department. All four of those agencies have LEOPS and are smaller than the La Plata Police Department. In addition to that, the officers have lost all of the protections that they have benefited from throughout their careers. The past legislative session was the most anti-police legislative session in Maryland history. Currently, when the current bills go into effect, there will be a statewide use of force policy. That means officers patrolling the neighborhoods of La Plata will be held to the same use of force standards as officers in Baltimore City. If these officers break that policy, they can be sentenced to 10 years in jail. We are not going to be able to retain any officers. We're not going to be able to recruit any officers into the future unless we, at the very minimum, give them a proper retirement and pay. That is all I have to say this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Robert Tippett.
Yes, ma'am, Mayor. Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm not a resident with the town. However, I am an employee with the town of La Plata. If you those do not know me, I am Robert Tippett, an officer with the town of La Plata Police Department. I would like to give my own statements regarding this new retirement system for the La Plata Police Department. Again, not to beat a dead horse, I'll try to keep this short and brief. I came to this agency because this is where I grew up. It's a place I care deeply for. However, I cannot see myself staying here under the current retirement plan. I came to this department at the age of 21 years old, which is the minimum age required to be a law enforcement officer in the state. Under the current system, I would have to work roughly 35 years to be eligible to retire. The years of shift work, physical requirements, and the many other facets of law enforcement would make this nearly impossible to achieve. I attended the Anne Arundel County Police Academy for my certification to work here, and during my time in the academy, I was made several offers to join their department. Anne Arundel County offered me a $20,000 signing bonus, along with a 20-year retirement at a much better percentage. Other surrounding jurisdictions also offer a much better pension plan. Even though I could have easily, and at times, I wanted to accept those offers, I chose to stay with La Plata. Why, you may ask? Because I believe in this community. I know that I can best serve my community here because I have roots here and I enjoy this town and would love to continue to serve it for the rest of my career. I know that I can speak for everyone when I say we all want to be here, but under this current system, we cannot. This department will continue to lose great officers and will have an even harder time recruiting anyone under this current system. I know that if LEOPS is not put in place, I will leave. LEOPS is frankly not a want, but it is a need. Please take a moment to truly reflect on the many things my fellow officers and members of the community have said regarding this matter and make the better choice not only for us, but for the community and its residents. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else out there that would like to speak during this public forum?
Yes, I'd like to speak, but I hadn't signed up previously and said you're supposed to sign up earlier, but may I speak?
Sure. Please state your name, your address, and whether you live in the incorporated town limits.
Okay, Joe Norris and 100 Oak Avenue in the corporate limits of the town of La Plata. I'd just like to kind of second what a lot of has been said. Fortunately, I don't have the burden on me of figuring out where the money comes from and that kind of thing. But I really think in the long run, it's going to cost us more if we want to continue to have a police department and if we want to continue to provide good professional service to our citizens. And as all of you have already said, it's not just the police department maybe that we need to look at. We might need to look at the whole thing. But in this current atmosphere, nationally and even more so in Maryland now with leading the way, taking away some of the officers' rights, I would encourage you to take a look at the LEOPS program and at what can be done for all of the town employees. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
David Bailey here. If I could speak, that'd be great.
Please state your name, your address, and whether you live in the incorporated town limits. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. David Bailey. I'm a St. Mary's County resident. I do not live in the corporate limits of La Plata. I am calling on behalf of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 8, which I'm the president of. And there's nothing that I can say. The points have been hit for everybody else that spoke, and LEOPS is 100% a good thing. I'm working on my 27th year as a law enforcement officer myself in the state of Maryland. And police officers have a passion for their job. That's why they join the police force. But I will say that when you're looking to be a police, there is a hometown allegiance to where you grew up. But if the benefits and salaries aren't there, you need to protect your own and go where they are to have a career in what you like to do. As the president of the FOP, I also, for those that officers that choose to join the FOP, the La Plata Town Police are part of FOP 8. And we did a poll for LEOPS, and it was unanimous amongst the officers. And they do a great job for you guys. You know, I think that this has been an issue, and it's in the current council's radar. But I have a hard time that it keeps getting tabled. So, you know, I don't know how you get it to be a budget item, but you know, this is not going to go away. And however you guys can bring it to a budget item, the fastest you can is the best for the town of La Plata. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers this evening? Okay, well, thank you for that. Moving on to our monthly reports. Chief is up first. Chief, take it away.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In March of 2021, La Plata police officers responded to 725 calls for service. Of note, 111 of those calls were either at box stores or hotels, representing 15% of the total calls that we responded to. Officers made 21 adult arrests for various criminal offenses. We investigated 31 Part 1 crimes and 17 Part 2 crimes. Some of the trends that we're seeing nationwide, thefts of catalytic converters continues to grow. La Plata has not been exempt from that trend. Currently, I had a conversation with Director Stahl late last week. We are considering working together to engrave local residents' catalytic converters with part of their VIN number, and then do a social media campaign trying to make it a little harder for folks that want to ply the trade of stealing catalytic converters to come into town. Also makes it easier for us to do checks at metal recycling places. The seizure of illegal firearms and crimes involving firearms continues to grow region-wide. Audits, the agency was notified by the Maryland Police Correctional Training Commissions that it passed its annual in-service training and firearms audit. Thus, what that means is all officers were recertified by the commission through June 2022. The agency is preparing for its annual CALIA off-site review. In preparation for the review, the department will be holding a mock assessment with seasoned accreditation professionals in the near future. Commendations. In the early morning hours of March 26, 2021, Officer Damian Graham observed a suspicious vehicle parked in a residential community. Investigating, Officer Graham noticed a strong odor of marijuana emanating from the vehicle. Search located a quantity of marijuana, heroin, and a loaded .45 caliber handgun. The individual arrested was prohibited from possessing a firearm. This is the second illegal firearm seized by Officer Graham in the recent past. As far as COVID-19, I'm guesstimating that a third of our officers have received both their first and second shot. We continue to do compliance checks for the governor's executive orders, and we currently have enough PPE gear to last us for quite a while for us and all town employees. I did attach a link at the bottom that came out from Power DMS, and it talks about the accreditation being an excellent tool for law enforcement risk management. I thought that the council might be interested in looking that over. It shows the importance of CLIA accreditation, and it shows how that has a direct effect on risk management. And that's my report. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions from council? All right, thank you, Chief. All right, next up, Director Harrington.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. For the Planning Department updates in the month of March. For the development review portion, we had several submissions. We had a boundary line adjustment plat for the Charles Street Overlook project. We had a concept architectural review for the Design Review Board. We had 2 Forest Conservation Declaration of Intents submitted, 1 major site plan for a Lowe's addition, 1 major subdivision final plat for Steeplechase Phase 2, Section 2, Part 2, 1 minor site plan for 6640 Crane Highway, and stormwater management plans for the Lowe's addition and a proposed development along Washington Avenue. For building permits issued in March, we had 39 new residential permits issued, 4 miscellaneous residential permits, 2 residential solar panels, 2 residential occupancies, 0 new commercial development. We had 2 miscellaneous commercial, 1 commercial fit out, 5 commercial occupancies, which were all tenant fit outs, 40 utility permits, 17 plumbing permits, 3 major facility fee permits, 18 farmers market permits, 1 backyard chicken permit, 3 permanent signs, and 3 grading permits that were issued, bringing a total to 140 building permits for that month. Under code enforcement, we issued 9 citations. And again, I have this on every meeting, but for signs, just wanted to let everyone know that we are still under the temporary sign moratorium that has not been concluded. And each business is allowed to have 132 square foot temporary signs, and reiterate that flag signs are not are considered a distracting device and are not permitted in the town. For rental licenses, the town received 23 rental license applications for the month of March, which brings the total to 46 for the year 2021 so far. For future meetings, we are planning on having our Planning Commission meeting on May 5th virtually. It's generally the first Tuesday of the month, but due to the election, we are holding it one day later on May 5th at 6 p.m. And Design Review Board, we are still on for May 12th, which is also a virtual meeting with a couple projects. For matters of information, staff is working on getting reports and placard updates for EnerGov. That's been held up, and that's kind of delaying the process a little bit for us getting this moving. But we have officially told them to begin drafting those placards so that way we can do everything electronically in electronic signatures. Staff is currently working on FAQs and guides. We are having those reviewed prior to releasing those just to make sure that I'm not missing anything and that all the information is accurate and correct. We are also working on several code revisions, including Chapter 75 building construction, Chapter 170 streets, roads, and sidewalks, Chapter 173 subdivision ordinance, Chapter 186 waters and sewers, and Chapter 191 sign code. Another just update for everyone is we are moving forward with the review of the radio station side path. We've been working with the consultant and discussing with all of the stakeholders, including Charles County Government, State Highway, Board of Education, and any property owners along the roadway to incorporate this side path into future development and the proposed project as it stands with the MDOT grant. So that is moving forward as scheduled. And that's all I have for tonight. If you have any questions of me.
Fantastic, thank you. And I really enjoyed your graphics on your report. Good job. Do I have any questions from council or statements? All right, wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Director Stahl.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. For the month of March, we produced a total amount of 26,766,000 gallons of water. We only sold 13,192,000 gallons of water. I will point out to you that because of a lot of the water meter issues that we're having, we hope that is the reason for this, but we're only selling less than half of the water that we're actually producing and treating. So that is a very, very serious problem. We are billing based on what we're selling, and the amount of water that we're billing for currently is extremely low. So we do have to get this problem corrected, and we are working diligently to try and do that. Sewer flow was quite heavy in the month of March because of all the rain. We treated 42.29 million gallons through our sewer treatment plant, and that was due in a lot of cases to the total rain of over 4 inches, 4.19 inches. Quite a challenge. Facilities work orders, we did 2 facilities orders, 6 sewer collection work orders, 2 street work orders, 2 stormwater work orders, 13 water distribution work orders, 15 wastewater treatment work orders, 20 fleet maintenance work orders, and 149 missed utility locates. The numbers are low in number, but the complexity of some of the problems that we are trying to address is huge. The problem out at Redwood Lake is very large. The soils that we're dealing with over there, because of the fact that the pipe had totally disintegrated, the soils in the area are very wet. We had to drain the lake entirely so that we weren't working underwater. And it has created numerous challenges for us. We have started putting the pipe in across Redwood Circle, and we hope to get this project well underway in the next 2 weeks. It is requiring us to cut the main electric service on Redwood Circle, and luckily the power is looped, so it won't put anyone out of power, but we are going to have to cut those lines and lay them back in each direction so that we can work down deep in the ground. We are going to actually have to cut the water line, but we can't do that on the gravity sewer line, which is even deeper. And so we're going to have to prop the gravity sewer line and hold that up while we try and install the pipes underneath of it. So it is quite a complex job. The water meter project that we're working on, Mueller has agreed to hire Keystone Utilities again to do the installs. There are currently over 800 meters that are malfunctioning in the town. And they sent us all of the new, what they call MXUs, which is really the battery and the brain for each one of those meters. However, some of the meters are a 3-wire non-automatic shutoff meter, and the others require 5-wire automatic shutoff control. They sent us all 3-wire, so all of the 800 that they sent us were all the 3-wire, and so we've been waiting for the additional 5-wire so that when we start the installation process, we have both types of MXU available for us, so that when the guys go in there, we don't tell the people when they've set up an appointment, oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that because you have the wrong kind of meter. So we are waiting for them, and that's a Mueller problem, and we're trying to get that addressed. We do have a conference call tomorrow with them at 1 o'clock, and we're hoping to get that addressed at that time to see when those can be developed. The other project that we're working on in stormwater, as I spoke about, the stormwater project out there with Austin Dirt Works, we are also working with Soltez engineering company on the dam out at Tillman Lake. The state came down on us at Tillman Lake and required us to do a full study of the dam at Tillman Lake, even though that dam's been there for over 60 years. It is important that we take a look at it. It has been interesting in the very recent times with MDE. Maryland Department of the Environment has really been working in enforcement mode with us and not really working with us as a partner, even though we've worked very diligently with them in the past. It has been extremely interesting. Parks, we've started all our grass cutting at all the town parks and town properties. Crews continue to work at Wills Park on bench repairs and over at Tillman Lake on the replacement of trash containers at the small pavilions. Grass cutting is a challenge that we face. As you know, we don't have a very large crew, and so we do supplement that with other contractors, including Melwood and some other private contractors. With the streets, we've contracted with Triangle Asphalt to patch several areas throughout the town where we've made road repairs, water line repairs, stormwater repairs, or other small paving jobs, and so we have contracted with them. We've also contracted with W&W Striping to restripe some of the streets that we paved last fall, and also some of the stop bars, and any additional striping that may be needed to be added throughout the town just to spruce up our striping. Quite a few challenges with sewer. We just last week on Friday finished an 8-inch concrete sewer main on Prospect Street. We had a sinkhole open up on Prospect Street, and when we dug down, this one was not stormwater related, it was sewer related. And it turned out that our concrete sewer line that runs down Prospect, but also drains most of Phoenix Run, had completely disintegrated in the area near the entrance off of Washington Avenue. The line was over 10 feet deep in the ground and really created some challenges for us. We had to go back and replace it with PVC, but we had to do a pump around in the process to keep everyone still available to sewer. We did that, and we were able to fix that on Friday, and they were able to come back in and backfill and pave that area today. So it is back in full service. And hopefully the residents, other than some of the traffic delays on Prospect Street, did not notice any service interruption, which was good. The gravity belt thickener, which we started last month, is working well. We've been working with Comline and fine-tuning the thickener, but it certainly appears that our sludge pressing has become much more efficient. And so we have been, it has helped us because of everyone staying at home, the amount of sludge that we're pressing out of our facility has increased dramatically. And so it is a challenge. We are also working with Macron on the PER and the ER for the USDA loan. We have submitted that to USDA, and we've put that in both a draft and final submission form to USDA. We hope to have a final decision very soon from that. And we have not used any information from the Stagecoach submission from several years ago. The computer hardware and software upgrades over at the wastewater treatment plant are reasonably complete. We have all of that installed at this point. We have migrated most of the SCADA system over to the new Windows 10 version of SciTech. It has been working well. However, now we are programming in the use of our new equalization tank, and that's clearly been an interesting challenge. We are actually utilizing the equalization tank today. We programmed everything into the Unity Pro software through the PLC down at the thickener building. And it is working well. We're limiting the flow through the plant to a maximum of 2 million gallons, and the pinch valves are opening and closing. And as the flow at the plant goes below 600 gallons per minute, the valves open up on the effluent side and flow back to our influent treatment plant. So that is a big positive, and it hopefully will, I think, help in the efficient running of our plant and keep our numbers where they need to be. One of the things I need to point out, DR Cox and his crew completed the repairs to Mod 1. As most of you know, we had a major failure in Mod 1 where the actual clarifier drive in the clarifier broke and below the water line, which we didn't notice until the whole mod had filled up with sludge. And so we were able to get that pumped down, and DR and his crew were able to put that in using complete town labor and put that back into service, and everything is really starting to operate pretty well with the warmer weather that we see. We also anticipate with trash in making some recycling and trash route changes in the coming weeks, and we anticipate this to deal with growth. The town is growing quickly, especially in some neighborhoods. And so we are finding the necessity to actually split town recycling into 2 days. And I think we will see recycling being picked up on Tuesdays in part of the town, and Wednesdays on the remainder of the town, as we normally do. That is a split because normally we pick up everything on Wednesdays, but it has just grown so large right now that it's very difficult to get all of the recycling picked up on just one day. It's also become difficult for us on Mondays. We normally picked up Clark's Run as a residential community. On Mondays, we pick up Steeplechase as a residential community on Mondays. And we also pick up yard waste. We pick up special pickups. Plus, we have 30 commercial accounts on Mondays as well. So Mondays has become a real challenging day for us, and we probably need to make some changes there. So over the next couple of weeks, you will see public notifications going out to all of our residents of the new trash schedule and the new recycling schedule to try and adjust for some of the growth that we're seeing in town. And on a last note, I think it's incumbent on me to point out to the mayor and council, in no way do I want to take away from the great efforts that our police department does for the town of La Plata. I fully support their desire to increase benefits to their officers, but I think it incumbent on me to speak up for those of us because I represent the largest number of town employees. All of our employees that work in water and sewer are required to be licensed by the state of Maryland. It's a difficult set of courses and tests that are there and in place. I have to tell you that currently the town of La Plata employs 3 people with all the license and certifications to run both water and sewer. The youngest of those people is me, and I'll be 59. We have a very serious problem with recruiting, maintaining all of our competition for employees. The county, as most of you know, just gave out $10,000 pay raises after a pay study that was done. And so suddenly the county, not only did they pay more than we did, but now with the new pay, it has made that problem increasingly worse. Our biggest competition is clearly DC Water and WSSC. And so and my challenge is not to oppose the police in any way, shape, or form, but to point out, as Councilwoman Mudd pointed out, that the issue really has to be addressed across the board. We're all facing tremendous challenges. My crew has not been at full staff in years. It is very difficult. And when we look at what the pay is for public works, had the $15 an hour minimum wage passed, about 50% of public works employees would have had to have had raises just to meet the new law. So I think that points out some of the challenges that we face. And I clearly understand the mayor and council's challenges with trying to balance a budget and trying to make sure that things are there. But I felt that it was incumbent on me to state that the problem, as both the mayor and as Councilwoman Mudd pointed out, is clearly an across-the-board scenario and needs to be addressed both in a compensation and benefits packages. And I thank you for the time, and if there are any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Bobby, for that very thorough and echoing comment here that I have. Thank you very much for that report. I think your volume's on, that's why we're echoing. No worries. Does council have any questions for Director Stahl?
Director Stahl, any update on the State Highway Administration and the Hawthorne Road stormwater issue? You're muted, Bobby.
You're muted.
I do not have an update for you at this time, Councilman Simpson. I did speak to the State Highway Administration. I went up to speak with Ashley, and she was going to get us a report. It is being handled out of Baltimore, which is one of the sad challenges for this. And she was going to try to get some information for us. I have not heard back from her.
I appreciate it, Bobby.
No problem.
All right. Any other questions?
Mayor James, Brent Manuel, Town Manager. Bobby, could you, we had a citizen inquire about the status of the park and ride shelters last month. I was out there Friday. Could you provide a brief update on maybe the status of that project as well as what the delay was, the reasons for the delay?
Absolutely, Mr. Manuel, and thank you. I should have pointed that out. Of course, all of us, both the council and town staff, were clearly aware that there had been some vandalism up at the park and ride shelters that we maintain at the park and ride facility up on Washington Avenue. We had re-sided those facilities several years ago with James Hardy siding, which is the concrete board that is very structurally sound and also is easy to maintain. Because of some of the building material shortages in the building industry right now, it turned out that the Hardy siding was fairly difficult to get. And so we had to order that special siding in, and it took a good month and a half for us to get that siding. I apologize for the delay in that, but it is difficult today to get building materials, and we did want to get the proper material for the replacement. Last week that was put in, and the structures were repainted on Friday. I do think things look a lot more presentable, and we hope in the future to be able to keep the appearance of those structures as well as we can.
Thank you, Bobby, and thank you for that hard work up there. That was an eyesore. It looks so much better, so thank you for that.
No problem.
All right, Kevin, the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I present to you the Treasurer's Report for the month of March 2021. March marks the 9th month of our fiscal year 2021. As of March 31st, the town's general fund revenues exceeded its expenditures by approximately $600,000. This variance is attributable to several factors, including the town already receiving nearly all of its FY21 real property taxes, with 3 months of expenditures still remaining in the fiscal year, higher than anticipated real property taxes, an extremely large prior year shared income tax payment, and an unexpected and significant increase in railroad and utility assessments. Within the enterprise funds, the sewer fund has expenditures that exceed revenues. This is due to capital projects budgeted in FY20 that have carried over into FY21. Final service termination notices were mailed out to accounts that have not paid their utility bills since the previous period of January 1, 2020 through March 31st, 2020, nor set up a payment plan on March 16th. If the customer did not pay or set up a payment plan by 4:30 p.m. on Friday, April 16th, actions to disconnect the water were initiated. In total, the town shut off 8 accounts. As at this time, only one of those accounts, not including vacant homes, which there are 3, has paid their bill or set up a payment plan. At a May work session, I will discuss with council our next step in regards to past due utility bills. Beginning on Monday, March 29th at 8 a.m., the Town of La Plata's utility billing online payment website has an updated design. The payment website has the same functionality with a new updated look and feel, plus enhanced discoverability of payment options. This update happened automatically with no work to the residents. All account information, URLs, and login information are the same. With the updated Town of La Plata utility billing online payment website, utility account holders who have set up an account will receive an email when a new bill is ready. The message will be sent to the email address on file with the online bill pay account. If an account holder would like to set up an account, forgotten their password, or no longer have access to the email on file, please follow the prompts on the website to reset your password or register for a new account. Paper bills will still be mailed out to all accounts. If anyone experiences any issues with the website or they have any questions, I recommend you contact Town Hall between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. The FY 2022 proposed budget and capital improvement plan was presented to Town Council on April 13th. The general fund, enterprise funds, and capital improvement plan have been presented. We will continue to work through the budget with an anticipation adoption date in early June. Tomorrow, I will go before the county commissioners to meet and confer on the FY 2022 town tax differential with the county. The tax differential is proposed to increase 0.003 cents. The effective town tax rate paid by La Plata residents in FY 2022 will be 17.8 cents. This concludes my treasurer's report for the month of March 2021. I'd be happy to answer any questions Mayor and Council may have.
Thank you very much. Does Council have any questions? All right. Hearing that we don't have any. Oh, Matt, do you have a question? Go ahead.
So, it's my understanding correct that American Express still will not be an option moving forward, correct?
That is correct, Councilman Simpson. The cost to process American Express payments is just too high to the town when we're not passing any of that cost onto the payments that we're receiving.
Understood.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us on to the next part of our agenda. May is such a busy month, and we love to honor our hardworking employees. And the first May 2nd through May 8th, it is annual Municipal Clerks Week. And boy, we would be nowhere if we didn't have Danielle with us. So I am going to read this. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, and time-honored and vital part of government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas the municipal clerk serves Whereas the municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of the neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and the community. And whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, province, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of municipal clerk. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Council of the Town of La Plata the week May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Municipal Clerks Week in the town of La Plata, Maryland. And further extend the appreciation to all municipal clerks for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to their communities they represent. And a huge shout out to Danielle for that all that she does for us. So that will be May 2nd to May 8th. So if you have a moment out there, drop Danielle a note of thanks, because again, we couldn't do what we do without her. So thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, Mayor James.
The next one that we will be recognizing in May is Police Week. Again, could not do what we do in our town without our police. And that National Police Week is May 9th through May 15th. Whereas there are more than 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in the community across the United States, including the dedicated members of the La Plata Police Department, and whereas the members of the La Plata Police Department and the entire law enforcement community unceasingly provide a vital public service and play an essential role in safeguarding our rights and freedoms, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifice of their law enforcement agencies, and that members of our law enforcement agencies recognize their duty to serve people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas by a joint resolution approved October 1st, 1962, as amended, the Congress authorized and requested the President of the United States to designate May 15th of each year as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as Police Week, and by Public Law 103-322, as amended, directed that the flag be flown at half-staff on Peace Officer Memorial Day. And whereas on Peace Officer Memorial Day and during Police Week, we honor the heroism of all our law enforcement officers, especially those who have given their lives so that others might live. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the Town of La Plata, do hereby proclaim the week of May 9th through May 15th, 2021 as Police Week, and May 15th, 2021 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and do call upon all of our citizens to observe these events with appropriate ceremonies and observances to commemorate law enforcement officers past and present who have rendered faithful and dedicated service to their communities to preserve the rights and security of all citizens. We further call upon all to display the flag at half-staff from their homes and businesses on May 15th, Peace Officers Memorial Day. So Chief, to you and your department, thank you very much. I know a week is not enough to really honor what you all do, and we thank you for all of your hard work, but know that May 9th through May 15th is your week next month.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the recognition.
And that brings us down to our next department that will be honored and recognized in May, and that is our Public Works. Our National Public Works Week is May 16th to May 22. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities, and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the town of La Plata and the state of Maryland. And whereas these infrastructure facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of the public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees from state and local government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the town of La Plata to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works program in the respective communities. And whereas the American Public Works Association has celebrated the annual National Public Works Week since 1960. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of La Plata does hereby designate the week of May 16th through May 22nd, 2021 as National Public Works Week. The community is urged to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designated to pay tribute to public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. So Bobby, to you and your amazing crew out there, thank you. And again, a week is not enough to recognize all of your hard work and efforts that you all do for our town. So May 16th, that's your week. So thank you very much.
Mayor, thank you very much. We also very much appreciate the recognition.
And you are so welcome. And the last one is Click It or Ticket, which is May 24th to June 6th, 2021. Whereas the safety and security of the citizens of the town of La Plata, Maryland, and surrounding areas are vitally important, and whereas a large percentage of our citizens regularly drive or ride in motor vehicles on our roadways, and whereas current data shows that the use of seat belts in passenger vehicles saved an estimated 14,995 lives of occupants ages 5 years and older. And whereas regular seat belt use is the single most effective way to reduce fatalities in motor vehicle crashes, and whereas the use of seat belts is supported by the laws of Maryland, and whereas May 24th through June 6, 2021 has been selected as the National Click It or Ticket Mobilization Enforcement Period. And whereas across the country, law enforcement officers will actively be participating in the mobilization to ensure all motor vehicle occupants are buckled up day and night to reduce the risk of injury and death caused in traffic crashes. And whereas increased enforcement of seatbelt laws coupled with publicity has proven to be an effective method to increase seatbelt use rates and decrease fatal crashes. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed and announced by the Council of the Town of La Plata that May 24th to June 6, 2021 is Click It or Ticket in the Town of La Plata, and all citizens are urged to always wear seatbelts when driving or riding on our roadways. So just another publicity for the safety of wearing seatbelts. We actually have the week there, May 24th to June 6th. So everyone out there, please make sure you click it or you might get the ticket. So I know our police officers will be out there educating our public on the safety of having their seatbelts on. So Chief, that's another one for you guys. You will be kept busy, but it is very, very important.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, traffic fatalities are definitely going in the wrong direction right now. And a lot of it has to do with less traffic on the road because of COVID. So speeds are up. And Southern Maryland has some of the lowest seatbelt wearing percentages in the state. So our officers will be out saving lives.
Thank you very much. That brings us to our next agenda item, discussion items. It is Stagecoach DRRA. All right, Councilwoman Mudd, would you like to start this conversation off?
Yes. I requested a discussion of this item, this DRRA. Shortly after we passed the enabling legislation to accept the DRRA, we received this one from Stagecoach, dated April 2nd, I believe. And at our last meeting, we discussed this, but it is just a draft. And I have to admit that before the meeting, I had only read the, the advantages to the town page and so forth. And the draft is actually 17 pages long. And there are some major concerns on my part, and I would think on the staff's part, as to things mentioned in this draft. And my major one is in Article 3, 3.1C. It specifically states the town will design, finance, construct, and install the following community infrastructure located on the Stagecoach La Plata property, and goes on and on. And I have never, and I've been at this a while, never have we constructed infrastructure within a development. It's always been developed and then given to the town. I understand that we started this, we talked to Stagecoach back in 2017, and there were many negotiations back and forth. And I do remember seeing a concept plan at the time, discussing a concept plan at the time. And we wanted to limit the, I recall specifically that we wanted to limit the number of townhouses and increase the single family houses and things like that. But since that time, and with this DRRA, with this draft DRRA, we have not received a concept plan or any kind of it's probably too early for a major site development plan, but at least a concept plan. And then, so then we gave it to we sent it to the Planning Commission, asking for them to to decide on whether this draft was in, this plan was in compliance with the, oh my gosh. with the,
Comprehensive.
yeah. And so, I mean, and they are expected to come back with saying that it's in compliance. And my question is, I mean, my concern is, I know you're going to say it's been dragged on a long time, but this is too fast, and staff has not had a chance to go over this detail by detail, the draft itself. And I would just like to slow it down a little bit and have, have staff get an idea from our attorney, how does this fit in and whatever, before we move ahead with this.
Janine, are you on?
Yes, I am.
And I don't know if this is a Janine or a Brent Manuel question. I hear Councilwoman Mudd, and I know you've been working on this, and so has the rest of staff been working on this. Some of the questions that I have and I continue to have about this, and I hear Councilwoman Mudd saying we need to slow it down. We need to make sure that we are doing the right thing. If it goes up to the Planning Commission, they are supposed to see if it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan. But sending it forward as is, does that mean we are all in agreement of the terms of this DRRA, all of the 17 pages? Is that so? When they get this product that we have not redlined at all or accepted, by moving it up to the Planning Commission, is that what we're saying? We accept all terms and we think we think it's okay. That's why we enabled it to go up there?
Not necessarily. The way that the enabling legislation is written, it doesn't specify necessarily that you are accepting the document. And as I noted before, there is a, under the submission requirements, number 10, it states that the town council will need to provide any terms, conditions, those types of things. So I'll keep my personal opinions to myself because that's just my opinion. But I did have the town attorney, because I asked him a very similar question. I said, is this how it's supposed to work, or is there anything that we're missing moving this forward to the Planning Commission? And he said no, that the town council can, once they receive it, they can certainly reject it if they don't like the terms that are in the agreement, or they can refer it to the Planning Commission. After it goes to the Planning Commission, it would go back to the town council for review, and then it would need to be scheduled for a public hearing, and those types of things. So that, yeah, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're accepting it as is. It just makes it a little difficult in the long run when we're bringing it to the Planning Commission and then taking it back to the council and then may not accept everything. So,
and that's the other. So in this DRRA draft form, we are well aware that the requests that are in there go directly against our existing code. One being that Chapter 173-98 Part F, which says that states about the school seats. It states that there's only 25 allowed in any fiscal year to any proposed subdivision, and that's definitely a request that they are asking that is different from that. So right then and there, that is going against our code. And the other thing is, as Patty mentioned, the request to put that the town fund all of the infrastructure and the building on Stagecoach. We entered into a contract with Macron on November 9th for up to $800,000 to redesign that southwest quadrant to be relocated not on that property. So what is the cost to the town? And Bobby, this might be a better question for you. What is the cost of the town that would incur if we honored that DRRA as presented, which of course we can't because it goes against the code anyway, it just seems that, as Patty says, we need to slow it down because we're pushing something forward that we know is a bad document that goes against.
If I could,
And there's elements.
if I
Hang
could-
on, let me see if let me have Bobby answer what the cost would be, because that was a question that he brought up.
Mayor, I
Go
think
ahead.
that looking at it budgetarily, I can't really answer that question. It would obviously be in the millions of dollars, but because we haven't seen any plan from Stagecoach as a whole, we really can't know what those costs are because nothing has been designed, nothing has been proposed. And so I can't honestly tell you what those costs are. Our assumption is based on the EDUs that it would be millions of dollars in infrastructure that would normally be put in, but we honestly, can't tell. And so that's why my comment in the budget hearing was nothing was included because we honestly haven't moved anything forward at all for that. And, and as I say, I don't, far be it for me to be an opinion in this situation, but to agree to commit ourselves to something when we don't ultimately know what those costs will be is challenging.
Councilman Finnegan, what do you have?
Well, with all due respect, Director Stahl, you've voiced your opinion about this in the past, so I think we're all relatively clear on that. The problem that I have first and foremost is this was added to the agenda rather last minute, and I'm curious as to whether anyone reached out to the petitioner to see if they would have a representative on the line to defend the assertion of certain members of the council that this is a bad document.
And they are on here.
They're on the call because they were informed that they would be on the agenda, but they weren't notified like we typically do. The point I'd like to address first and foremost was the one that Councilwoman Mudd made with respect to the fact that the town has never paid for infrastructure that's been developed on a developer's property. We are currently, according to Director Stahl, engaged in just such an action. We are expanding the regional pump station, which is located on the Steeplechase development, and Mr. Stahl told us at the last meeting that the town is footing 70% of that bill. So we do in fact pay for infrastructure expansion and improvements on developers' properties. The infrastructure that's being discussed in the DRRA is community infrastructure. It is not infrastructure that only benefits that one development. We've been down this road and I don't know why we keep revisiting this. The USDA loan was applied for with Stagecoach and all other development properties in the Southwest Quadrant in mind. We would not have been eligible for USDA funding if the infrastructure that was being put in was for the benefit of one development. It is community infrastructure designed to expand our system to the entire quadrant. The reason why the proposal for the town to bear the burden of the cost for the infrastructure on the Stagecoach development was because that was envisioned as a regional pump station. That would not only serve Stagecoach, it would serve Baldus, and it would serve other adjacent properties in that Southwest Quadrant. So we've been down this road, we've discussed this. This was part of our negotiations with Stagecoach all along. The regional pump station was moved to the Steeplechase development, and it really is beyond me how we're recognizing USDA funding in the next fiscal budget when we are not using any of those funds to put infrastructure down to Stagecoach so that they can tap into this. Yet they were the developer in mind when we coordinated our efforts to apply for the USDA loan. This is what I'm not understanding. And it amazes me that we're going to sit here and we're going to have a conversation about whether a document is bad or good when we are following the process that is laid out in the enabling legislation. I think that this is nothing more than an attempt to influence the decision of the Planning Commission when this comes before them. I do not know why we were having discussions about this. We voted 5-0 to refer this to the Planning Commission, and I think that we need to reserve our commentary until the Planning Commission, after they've gotten a report from staff about whether or not this conforms with the comp plan, is a yes or a no. That's the process. I don't know why we're going out of that process. And it's amazing to me that I asked, I'm sorry?
I have a point of order. I might be mistaken here, but I do believe that we've submitted this to the Planning Commission, and at this time, should we be discussing this until it comes back from them as to whether or not it meets the comprehensive plan? It would seem
And
to me
I
that
think
if it meets the plan, that if they want to make changes to it or we make changes to it, then we have the option to send it back to the Planning Commission in whatever modified form it may take after our discussions with the applicants and our discussions when they come to us in a meeting, as has been suggested. Why are we dealing with this now when we've submitted it to the Planning Commission? We ought to allow that to come back and take it step by step.
And I believe that Councilwoman Mudd, and I'll allow her to speak on this, after reading this, had questions on whether or not we are, once it goes up to the Planning Commission, because it goes as the entire document, are we committed? Are we saying that this document, before we redlined it, that this is the document that we think? And Councilwoman Mudd?
The enabling legislation that we would have the authority at any time to say yes, to say no, to make changes. If it goes before the Planning Commission, which is the first step, and they determine that the current document is according to the comprehensive plan, then it comes to us. And if we have to send it back to the Planning Commission because a modified document emerges from us, then so be it. But I think that this step is a bit premature to be talking about it when this council won't be deciding it in the grand scheme of things anyway.
But this is Councilman Finnegan. This is a question that I've repeatedly asked, and I cannot get an answer to it. The role of the Planning Commission is to determine whether or not this project conceived in this DRRA is conforming with the comp plan. So, AKA, is the expansion of water and sewer to the southwest quadrant and the development of the Stagecoach Crossing property as a residential development conforming with the comp plan? That's the question that needs to be asked and answered by the Planning Commission. Whether or not the town pays for none, part, or all of the infrastructure on Stagecoach Crossing's property, whether or not the town and the applicant engage in a financing scheme to pay for this with the use of federal dollars or municipal bonds, those minute details of this arrangement are not in the purview of the Planning Commission. Those are factors and specific components of an agreement that the town of La Plata enters into with the applicant. The question that needs to be addressed by the Planning Commission is whether or not the underlying project conceived as part of this DRRA is conforming with our comp plan. And I cannot imagine that such a plan would not be conforming after all of the years we've spent negotiating, all of the time that we spent negotiating with Stagecoach these past 4 years on all of the minute details about USDA funding and the arrangement that existed there. Never once did anyone contemplate submitting that to the Planning Commission for review and approval. So I'm confused as to why now those detailed questions need to be addressed by the Planning Commission.
Whether it is or is not is a matter for the Planning Commission to decide, and they will decide at a meeting on the 6th. I think that until that discussion happens with the Planning Commission as to whether or not this project as submitted so far meets the comprehensive plan, I don't think that we should continue further discussions on it. One, it's going to be for a new council, and two, the Planning Commission has not said whether the current document comes in within the comprehensive plan. So I think it is a moot point to discuss this any further until we know from the Planning Commission whether what is before us meets the comprehensive plan. And then we will have our discussions with the applicant. And if we have to, we send it back to the Planning Commission for any modification document to be determined whether it fits with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Councilman Simpson. And I think that the real concern here, and Councilwoman Mudd, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this document going in as its entirety, going up to the council, going up to the Planning Commission, if it is agreed upon that it falls within the comprehensive plan, the concern is that the document, and I know it comes back to us, that we will have the opportunity to redline it. And I think that was the concern after some have, really dived into looking at this even more, that there are problems, perhaps problems with the way that this DRRA is worded. And it is a negotiation. That's what it is. It's not just here it is. And I think that's the concern that the new council would have the knowledge and insight that they don't have to accept it as is. And that's, I think, where we were going. Patty, do you have anything else to add or correct me on that?
I guess not. I was under the impression at the last meeting when we sent it, we were, going to send it to the planning commission, and I understand that they were just going to, give an opinion on whether it fit with the comp plan. However, so this would go to the new council, because I was under the impression that everybody at that meeting wanted to, we wanted to push that through so that we would make this decision. This council. I just want to make sure that this is perfectly clear that, this is going to go.
This is Sue Greer, and you all have mentioned that the applicant is on the phone, and unfortunately, I am not able to have my team on the phone, but I would like to, if I could, just for a moment, be heard by the town council on this issue. As you know, when this council started 4 years ago, one of your very first projects to come before you was Stagecoach. And we were so excited then to present to you what we think is a great project that met your comp plan then, that meets your comp plan now, that reduced density by half. And we were approached by the town with respect to, and I'm not going to walk you through the history because you all know the history. And we were pleased to work with the town to apply for, to expend monies to bring water and sewer infrastructure to the southwest quadrant, which included all of the properties in the southwest quadrant, not just the Stagecoach property. And as we move forward with this process, I think it was about 2 years ago, Stagecoach was in front of the town council, and Councilman Mudd, to your point, part of what has held up the design of Stagecoach is understanding when and where sewer and water were coming from so that we could design our project. And as we worked through our process, the town asked us to do a number of things. And every time that the town has asked Stagecoach to do something, Stagecoach has done it because Stagecoach wants to work with the town and it wants to see this good project come to fruition. We paid for a financial advisor to review our financials. We paid for a market analysis so the town could feel comfortable that our units could be absorbed into the market and could support the expansion of infrastructure. I don't think that you've had any other project before you that you've made those requests of or who have had to done that. And I don't say that because I'm crying over spilt milk. I say that to show Stagecoach's willingness constantly throughout this process to work with you. 2 years ago, we were in front of the town, I think it was, and the town directed staff, get with Stagecoach, let's get these agreements in place so we can move this project forward. A week later, we learned that the town had changed the alignment, or I don't think the town council was aware of it at the time, but that the alignment of the water and sewer had changed. And again, I'm not saying that to cry over spilt milk. The town, I've never seen it formally become before this town council to actually make that decision. But the town, somewhere along the line, the decision was made to move the regional pump station to the neighboring property. That's fine. Stagecoach still wants to see its project come to fruition, and it wants to see it come to fruition in a way that best serves not only the Stagecoach property, but serves the entire town. And balkanizing a system of pump stations solely dedicated to each development is something that does not serve the town long term and is something that the Director of Operations has complained about. And in our process to move forward, what we have proposed to the town council in the DRA is simply that facilities that are placed there be designed for the region, not just for the Stagecoach property, but for the surrounding properties to include the Earnshaw and Dolly Drive, which I know is a particular goal to connect those Dolly Drive properties to public water and sewer. That's what this is proposing. It's proposing regional facilities. When I looked at the budget, I saw the monies that were put in for the regional pump station, but I did not see any monies that were put in for the expansion of that regional pump station to cut across to the Stagecoach property. Nonetheless, Stagecoach is proud to present this DRA to you. All we have ever asked for when we've appeared before this town council is to be treated fairly and to be treated honorably. Stagecoach has been requesting since November of last year to get in front of this town council and have these discussions. And they're good discussions. And what I think would be the fairest way to treat Stagecoach, because this town council knows the water and sewer infrastructure, it knows the USDA loan better than any town council will ever know it. This is the town council, frankly, to deal with it. And to deal with this project as you just dealt with another very large project. What I think would be and would request would be appropriate is to allow this conversation to occur. We presented as requested last week. The mayor said there should be some onus on the applicant to do the consistency finding. So the applicant has done that. We intend to submit a financial analysis as well. That was submitted to the town. I think these are good questions. These questions should happen with the Planning Commission, and I think the town council should be present for that. The most appropriate thing to do would be to have the town council and the Planning Commission together, where Stagecoach finally has the opportunity to participate in these discussions. Over the past week, the town council and various members of staff had made comments, but Stagecoach has not been allowed to be at the table to make its presentation. To treat us fairly and honorably as we have treated the town, that would be the appropriate way of handling this matter. I hope I did not offend anybody. I believe in speaking frankly and in all candor and frankness, having a joint meeting where these conversations can be had and Stagecoach can present its information would be prudent, I think, on behalf of this town council. Thank you. We'll take that under consideration, and we've got a lot going on in the next week, but this is a big thing for the council, and I know that Councilwoman Mudd had a concern. I have voiced my concerns, so as long as it's going to be left up to the Planning Commission and they do not have to, the next council does not have to adhere to everything in this, and it's a give and take, I am fine with that. I think that we are rushing things. I don't think that the staff is comfortable moving forward with this, and I am 100% behind the staff, and I have to listen to them because I will be here going forward. Yes, Councilman Simpson.
I just think, and this goes to Ms. Greer too, I'm sure she wants to respond. This, until the Planning Commission rules whether the current document before us meets with the comprehensive plan, I do not think any further discussion on this matter is warranted. And I think it is a bit prejudicial to both sides to talk any further about a DRRA that our Planning Commission has submitted to it until they have determined whether or not it meets the comprehensive plan. Once that has happened, then I think we can discuss till we're blue in the face with the applicant, with the council, everyone, this DRRA.
Fair enough. I think the question that just needed to be answered tonight, and I think it kind of sort of was whether or not moving forward, we are saying for the enabling this DRRA that we agree with everything in the DRRA when we send it to the Planning Commission. And I gather from hearing from Director Harrington, it is just whether it's in the comp plan. And at that point, it's got to be, as I said last week, it's got to be on the applicant to work with our director of planning to make sure that all the boxes are checked before it goes to a planning commission, so that is a complete package. I would just urge, I'm sure because the town council specifically requested and the mayor specifically requested that the applicant undertake a consistency review. Every town council person has a copy of that consistency review. And I think if you take the time to read it, you will see that Stagecoach has done everything it has said it's going to do. It has focused on your comprehensive plan in moving forward. Again, that is in the hands of the planning staff. It is in the hands of the town council. And the other thing that I would ask is that if any of the town council members have questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're more than willing to provide more information. We're more than willing to meet with you. As I said before, I know that the council thinks yes, but from Stagecoach's perspective, we've been at this for 4 years and we've been trying desperately to get in front of the town council for some months now. And again, we're just asking to treat it honorably and fairly. Fair enough. All right. Patty, do you
Mayor.
have any? Oh, go ahead, Brent.
I just have a quick question, I guess for my own personal purposes, and I guess this question would be directed at Director Harrington. I see on the agenda that the Stagecoach DRRA discussion item was requested by Councilwoman Mudd. I'm glad to see that Councilwoman Mudd's request made it to tonight's agenda. And I've heard the mayor express concerns about the staff's ability to provide a comprehensive report and analysis on conformity with the comp plan in time for the Planning Commission's May 5th agenda. I'm curious to hear from Director Harrington herself whether or not she has concerns with her department's ability to meet the May 5th meeting deadline.
Thank you. I do not have any concerns about meeting the deadline. I just had concerns about how I should address the consistency analysis, which, as Sue Greer pointed out, she did provide an analysis, which I have attached to the agenda. It will be published tomorrow or at the latest Wednesday morning. We are on track. I've received comments from other staff members, and I have provided my own analysis on the consistency with the comprehensive plan, and I will continue to look at Sue's analysis to ensure that I have covered all of the applicable topics, and it is on the May 5th agenda.
And if I could just take one more interrupt and thank Director Harrington, because she has been nothing but stellar.
Thank you, Sue.
All right, Councilwoman Mudd.
I do have one more thing I'd like to point out is, like I said, I did reach out to the town attorney just on the, the process, because I didn't quite understand the enabling legislation. So this may help to answer Councilwoman Mudd's question. So when I pointed out one of the submission requirements is that the council would provide any terms, conditions, restrictions, or other requirements determined by the town council or the designees to be necessary to ensure the public health, safety, or welfare. The town attorney did state that this is required for the final DRA and should be discussed between the council, staff, and the applicant prior to a public hearing.
Okay, so that does not need to be in place before the Planning Commission meeting next week.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Councilwoman Mudd, do you have any questions or anything else on this?
No, I think that final statement from the attorney makes sense, and the statements from Sue. Thank you all.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. It's always good to have a conversation when we don't, if we have to voice our opinion, that's where we do it here. So thank you, Councilwoman Mudd. I appreciate that. And for all of you that engaged in the conversation. All right, moving on. New business. Commission reports. Not only am I going to give council the opportunity to give their commission reports, but if you are leaving us, three are leaving us, this is your opportunity to say what you want and your farewells if you want. I'm going to lump them in for your commission reports and anything that you would like to say. So I'm going to start off with Councilman Simpson.
So the Planning Commission met in April. We discussed a site extension for a project on 301 known as basically in between your Popeyes and your Benny's. There is a piece of land that is up for development. The applicant achieved approval last year, but came up for an approval extension this year because they haven't done anything in a long time. The Planning Commission did grant the extension with one vote against, and that would be mine, out of concerns for the neighborhood behind it and the proximity of it. But the Planning Commission did state, several members did state that they had hoped the applicant would look at maybe sizing down the project or doing something different because it has such a weird parking scheme and there seem to be some complications along the way in terms of flow throughout the property. But they have a 1-year extension. We'll see how that goes. They will come up again in a year if they haven't done any work on the project. The other project to come forward at the meeting was Steeplechase, which got approval for a few more housing units based on capacity found at our sewage treatment plant and for that neighborhood and development. The question was raised, however, where that capacity came from and whether or not they would have any before the completion of the new pump station, but it was assured to us by Director Stahl that they would. And it's just a few homes that we're talking about, so that was approved. Our next meeting is on the 6th. It is not on the 5th due to the election, or not on the 4th due to the election. It'll be on the 5th. We've moved it. It'll be virtual, and that is, again, because Town Hall will be busy that day. On the agenda, the DRRA that has been submitted by Stagecoach. Personally, it's been a great 4 years, and I thank Patty, Emily, and Brent for their service. It's been absolutely wonderful. It was fun to run, and it was fun to govern. I look forward to you all being private citizens again. I'm sure that both the mayor and I, should I be lucky enough to get reelected, look forward to hearing your complaints every week on what we're doing wrong. So we look forward to it.
But you could speak for yourself. I don't want to hear complaints. Thank you, Councilman Simpson. All right, Councilman Finnegan.
So the Design Review Board met in April. On the 14th. We reviewed 2 items at that meeting. Was the Charles Street Apartments concept architectural review. The consensus of the board was for them to proceed with final design. And we also went over the community design guidelines review. Minor editorial comments were provided, and the board also asked that they proceed with the final draft. The next meeting of the Design Review Board will be on Wednesday, May 12th at 9 a.m. Currently on the agenda for that meeting is community design guidelines, review of the final draft, our final draft of the community design guidelines for review and adoption. There is a petition from 5695 Washington Avenue for an exterior facade renovation, turning a residential dwelling into a cafe. And then the third item currently pending on the agenda is Charles Street Apartments, their final architectural review and approval by the board. I am not returning. This is my last business meeting. I'm not really good with this type of stuff, but this experience, these 4 years, have truly been the honor of a lifetime. And I have gotten to know a lot of people, most intimately my fellow council members and the mayor and many of our staff. And I just, I know the council is the outward facing representation of the town of La Plata, but nothing that we do, whether it's crazy, wrong, ridiculous, or, you know, any of those things would be doable without the staff. I can't say how amazed I am at all the work that everybody puts in and everything that everybody does to keep the town running. People like to give us credit when things are good and keep all the complaints on us when things are bad. But you know, I've enjoyed the experience. It's been a great time, and I look forward to seeing what the next council does. I have a feeling that, Mayor, despite your lack of a desire to hear our complaints, you're probably going to hear some of them. But no, I want to thank everyone. I think everyone at the town is amazing, and the honor is mine to have worked with each and every one of you, to have gotten to know you, and I can't thank you enough for making this experience exhilarating, daunting, and truly one of a kind. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Councilman Finnegan. Councilwoman Mudd Hendricks.
So for someone that says he's not articulate about these kinds of things, I think that's a hard act to follow. But let me just give a couple updates. Parks and Recreation did not meet this month, but we do have an update. There's going to be a statement put out about the splash pad and usage soon, since the weather's getting warm, and I think people are going to have questions about the usage. But I haven't gotten any details on that yet. And then the scavenger hunt at Tillman Lake is ongoing, and there are sheets and pencils up there. They're continuously being stocked, and people are enjoying that. So that's good to hear. Yeah, so this is the last business meeting, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank the town staff for all that you do. It has been a pleasure working with you, and thank you for answering my questions and always being helpful and professional and knowledgeable. I learned a whole lot over the past 4 years, and I thank the residents for giving me this opportunity to serve and to represent the town. And I also thank the mayor and my fellow council for being a great team to work with. And I wish the new future council all the best, and I look forward to seeing all that gets accomplished in the coming years. And I'm not going anywhere, so I look forward to possibly volunteering in some capacity as needed. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mudd Hendricks. I just heard that you are volunteering for one of our committees, so you just choose and I'll make sure that you're appointed. So thank you for that. Councilwoman Mudd, you're up.
Yeah, okay. First, beautification is going ahead with their grants and so forth, and doing the flowers around the town hall, the spring flowers for around the town hall. We've had a lot of good responses to the grants, and so that's going well. And my baby, the Historic Preservation Commission, is moving forward slowly through the pandemic year and so forth. But we plan a work session the 8th, and we're planning to put things back together and hopefully open up on Memorial Day weekend, and maybe be open Saturdays after that. We'll have some limited hours, but because of the volunteers, we only have a few people that want to volunteer to be docents. So we'll work that out. But historic preservation is going strong, and please come visit the train station. I agreed to run with these 4 young people with wonderful ideas 4 years ago, and I am so pleased with everything that we've done. I think that we have taken huge steps toward the betterment of La Plata. I really think things have opened up. We're always going to get complaints that we're too big, and how can we do this, and why can't we keep our small town? And I think I think this council has done a good job of making, keeping the small town atmosphere, but still developing so that we're not, so that we're still a small town in not in size, but in spirit. And I think things have gone very, very well for the 4 years. The staff is fantastic. This is the best staff, and I've been here a long time now. I was first elected in 2005, and had 4 years off, but I was, I was on Parks and Rec. I was still active those 4 years. So I've been here at least 16, 17 years here. And I just think that things are just going in the right direction. I love this town. I love all of you all. Each of us had our special talents, and I think we came together so well and have done a tremendous job. And I really want to extra hurrah to the staff, because they have been marvelous at what they do, each and every one of them. And thank you so much. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to become appointed to the to Historic Preservation Commission when another term someone's term ends up in next month, so I'm going to be a member of the commission.
Oh, well, we are so happy about that.
Yes, yes. And I think, well, the next thing on the agenda is the reappointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. Can I do that now too, since I'm...
Well, you can do that, but you jumped over me, so go ahead and do that. You know what?
Well,
you can do what...
I jumped over you, but it's just that, but I was talking about it anyway. I would like to ask the council to reappoint Jane Hobbs to the Historic Preservation Commission. She has been serving the last year, filling someone else's term. And so now this is a new 3-year term for Jane Hobbs.
So are you making a motion?
Yes, so I'm making a motion to appoint Jane Hobbs to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All right. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you. Now it's my turn. So upcoming events. This past weekend, we held our first post-COVID, or still in the COVID event. It was a Celebrate La Plata. It was scaled down, but you know what? It felt so good to be out and about, and it was done safely. Everyone was wearing their masks, and Pork Donut did an amazing job entertaining the crowd, and the crowd came and went, but you know, it was the first introduction to opening up just a little bit more. So Colleen and her amazing staff between the police officers and public works and everyone who worked on it, thank you so much. So that was our first event. Coming up, the election is next Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So swing on by Town Hall to vote. The swearing in of the new council will be on May 10th at 7 p.m. It will be virtual. It'll be a hybrid. So those actually that will be serving and the outgoing ones will be in person, and they will have a ticket or two to have their family members there. But due to COVID, they're really making sure that everyone is spaced and adhering to the governor's guidelines. But that will be on May 10th. May 28th, we will have our first concert here on the lawn. Again, they're working out all of the details on that, but Robbie Booth will be opening up. He is a young country star from St. Mary's County, which is pretty exciting. One thing that wasn't mentioned is that they will be, and I think Bobby mentioned it, but I think it's this week, if not next week, Charles Street, they're working on Charles Street. So those lines that kind of look a little wavy, where they're going to be straightened out, and that's going to be at night from Thursday until Sunday. So just have that on your horizon. And the Maryland Municipal League did If I Were Mayor this year. They didn't do it last year. Well, one of the things that I love is that we a few years ago did junior mayor, and we are going to do a junior mayor again. Matula and Mitchell did have people that submitted their essays. They haven't announced officially winners yet, so I'm not allowed to say anything, but after that, we have the Key Club that has volunteered to read essays and pick one from local here to become a junior mayor. And that person will get to help me run a meeting, probably virtually. We'll have to see where that goes, and be king or queen for the day. So I think it's very important to get the youth involved in municipal government at a young age and have them understand a little bit more about the police department, water and sewer, and the operations of our town. So that is upcoming. Now, for my goodbyes, it's 4 years ago when we ran, it was a new day for La Plata. We didn't know each other. It was 5 people. I knew Patty, because who didn't know Patty? But 5 of us came together. We had some great ideas, and the main goal was for the betterment of the community. We wanted to make La Plata a better place to dine, shop, and live. And I think we've accomplished that. As you have seen from this meeting, 4 years ago, we came in with a bang, and boy, are we leaving with a bang. What a lively meeting this was. To Brent, I always love engaging with Brent and having lively discussion with him. And he brings so much insight. And I have met someone who can talk just as long as I can. Never get Brent, Bobby, and I in a room because we're not going anywhere. There better be food and a bathroom. So Brent, you did a fantastic job as Mayor Pro Tem for 2 years. And anytime I asked for anything, you did it without at least complaining to me. I'm sure there was complaining behind the scenes. Let's get real here. But thank you so much. I wish you much luck on your new journey, wherever that may bring you. And no, I'm going to block you afterwards because I don't want to hear any of your complaints here. So there you go. Emily, I loved how you were always prepared and just that quiet councilwoman that when your button lit up or when you said something, oh, we knew it was going to be something good. And you have always been prepared. And your one thing that you really sought out was being fair and equitable to all. And I love that. So thank you, because I know your schedule has been crazy with your job and your promotion. And also thank you for sticking with us and all of your insight. And then Patty, the only one that can call me up and go, JJ, what are you doing? And there's been quite a few times the JJ has come out. You can't do that. And my response is, really? I can't do that? And she has kept me in line. Her institutional knowledge is phenomenal. And I'm still very perplexed because how Patty can find stuff on the internet. I mean, I am still searching for things that she says on the internet and she can quote it. I don't know. I know deep dark web. I don't know how you do it. I don't want to know how you do it. But and in our friendship, I will always just cherish that. So I am so pleased that you are going to stay on the Historic Preservation Committee because we need that. And that baby of yours, you gotta nurture it all the way through because you all have made a difference. So thank you. And Councilman Simpson, I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm just going to say thank you too. You know, we may not have always, for the 5 of us, we may not have always gotten along, but we've hashed it out. And I am proud to say that with our votes, I think, and you guys can correct me, I think that we have probably had in the 4 years that we have voted on things, 3 or 4 that we weren't a 5-0. And that's okay. I mean, the reason why we would be 5-0 or 4-1 is because we hashed it out beforehand. But you know what, we worked well together. So thank you all. Thank you all for a great 4 years. I'm looking forward to the next council and working as hard with them. So with that, and staff, I tell you, your heads are probably huge anyways, because I tell you all the time how much you have helped us throughout this journey. So thank you. But you know what? I'm not going anywhere. So you're stuck with me. With that, do I have any closing comments from council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Oh, y'all want to stay. That was really delayed. I love that. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Stay well, and thank you for all that you've done for our town for the last 4 years. All right, meeting adjourned. Take care, guys.